He says he just started.
He just started it.
Okay,
So we're good to go?
okay, so
Oh, I just
Start from
tell
the
a
beginning.
story, so, okay. Welcome to the meeting, all right.
start from the beginning.
Okay, and we'll start again. This is the meeting of the McHenry County Zoning Board of Appeals. Bring it to order right now, and we'll do the intros once again, starting with Tom.
Tom Jers, Coral Township.
Bob Cozen, Algonquin Township.
Charlie Eldridge, Richmond Township.
Vicki Gardner from Nunda Township.
Kurt Schnabel, Riley Township.
Jessica Beverly, Door Township.
Okay, thank you, and I apologize, I have a cold that's been hanging on forever, so I don't sound really good. But in any case, we will move on to the next part, which is this. This is a petition for 2708 Walkup Road in Crystal Lake, Illinois, for a reclassification from A1 Agriculture to A2 Estate District.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Yes, that should be agriculture.
That should be agricultural.
Yes,
A2 agricultural.
yeah. Okay. The property consists of approximately 8.97 acres and is located on the east side of Walkup Road, approximately 425 feet south of Crystal Springs Road in Nunda Township. The petition has been reviewed and the following items have been received prior to today's scheduled hearing. Publisher's certificate of publication from a newspaper is dated August 19th, 2023, and thereby meets ordinance requirements. The affidavit of posting was signed and the date posted was August 26th, 2023, and thereby meets ordinance requirements. The affidavit of mailing was signed and date mailed was August 16th, 2023, and thereby meets ordinance requirements. The survey has been checked against the petition, legal notice, and publication in the newspaper, and all three match. Filing fees have been paid. The endangered species consultation was not required for this petition. The McHenry Soil and Water Conservation District report has been received. For further information, please refer to NRI number L22-058-4449. Okay. So while, now that we've read all that, I'd like the petitioners to please state your names and your addresses.
Swearing.
I have that as after that, but we'll swear in now. Okay. I'd like everybody who plans on talking, and even you, if you may decide to talk, to raise your right hand. And do you solemnly affirm that the testimony you give shall be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I do.
I do.
Okay, thank you. Okay, so now I need your names and your addresses. Starting on the left, whatever.
Oh, David May, 2708 Walkup Road,
Okay,
Crystal Lake.
Kimberly May, 2708 Walkup Road, Crystal Lake.
and you?
Dan Schmeichel, 2708 Walkup Road, Crystal Lake.
Can you spell your last name, please?
SCHMEICHEL.
Okay. So like Michael with a sh at the beginning. Okay. Okay. So please tell us what you would like to do and your reasons for doing it. I will tell you that everything is being recorded. So before you speak, please state your name so that the person listening to the recording will know who is talking.
So I talk into this.
Into the microphone, please, yeah. And you can, if it's easier, you can take it out of that sleeve and just hold it in your hand.
Okay, my name is David May. Is it too long?
No,
We purchased this property with the intentions of doing farming. We've had, for a long time, wanted to do this. This was something in our hopes and dreams. We've worked hard our whole life. I've been a business owner most of my life owning motels and a successful company. And we wanted to settle in Crystal Lake. We loved the Crystal Lake. We have a lot of friends at Crystal Lake. And we wanted to take this to a level that has been farmed for well over 100 years. I do understand there's houses around it, but that all was a part of this farm at one time. And I do understand future development. However, in this particular case, I think it adds a lot to this area. You know, we have become the largest producer of organic lettuce and vegetables and organic, other organic, such as onions, garlic, tomatoes, cucumbers, etc. in Crystal Lake in a short period of time. And, you know, we have a flower distribution, an acre of flowers, and we've become one of the biggest distributors of flowers in Crystal Lake in this area. We presently have chickens, bees, goats, soon to raise lamb for a variety of purposes, from yarn to sell and slaughter, and also to breed. We do a farm stand which sells a lot of variety of our products, honey, and a lot of other different products that we sell. I'm excited. We've been excited about the future of this property. We've been meeting the neighbors. We've been interacting with a lot of different people that have the same thing, organic. We all been through a pandemic. We understand how important it is to grow food. We understand how important it is to have organically grown food. And that was our goal, to do this. And we're, and even north, south, east, and west is a community in Kennewick County, as we all know, it's a big farming community. It always has been and always will be. We're part of, and we wanted to be a part of this community. And we were in 7 farmers markets now, currently to expand that. We sell a lot of product, and the stuff that we don't sell, we give to the food pantry. We give a lot of food to the food pantry. And whether that, you know, in Elgin and in this area, and I know that's going to continue to grow. We give a lot of stuff out there. And I do understand the future use of this, and I would even like to maybe, if it was permissible, I don't know all the understandings of it, but to build a couple of houses possibly on the north side. We've talked about this with building and zoning department, but as of right now, even if it's conforming or non-conforming A1, if anything was to happen to this house and it was to burn down, we would not be able to rebuild. And so, in either way, we still want to farm it, and we want to continue this community and getting to know the neighbors. The neighbor across the street's been doing a lot of different things with bees and maple syrup and stuff like that too. So right across the street from me, he's currently trying to do more agriculture with his property. And north, south, east, and west in every direction, there is a lot of farming activity. I know they have a downtown Woodstock, a downtown Crystal Lake farm stand, which we're both a part of. So I do understand that if future development would be to build houses, I get it. You know, I don't want townhomes, condos, pools, and tennis courts, but I do want to continue doing what I'm doing. That was what we worked so hard for, to come to a place in McHenry County, we love McHenry County, to do this. And that's where we stand right now.
Okay, so how long have you owned this property?
This coming up March or February, March 29th, it will be about almost 5 years, 4.5 years, more than 4.5 years.
Okay. Now, part of the problem with the rezoning, as I see it, is that for some reason, 1 acre was split off of one end of this property. And why was that done?
Well, that was done because it's a separate kind of entity. It's going to be a limited liability corporation that's producing only flowers. And it doesn't need to conform or change to anything. Nothing's probably going to be built there other than what needs to be done for the flowers. I didn't understand, and from my understanding, when I went to the tax office here, and I was explaining that to them, that, like, can I separate a separate tax ID number for that? I guess not understanding all the ramifications of that, they said, yeah, you can do that, it's not a problem, and I did it. And I didn't realize that it could come back to haunt me, I just didn't know.
Okay,
So
I think
that was-
the other thing too is that you're planning a business on that property.
Well, it's a flower business, yeah, it's just farming, it's growing only flowers and herbs and things like that. So there's nothing else that's being used for it. It's just gonna be used only and specifically for agriculture.
Okay, but there's no residences on there?
No,
and
no
buildings?
residences, no.
So
just
it can't really
like a
be
little house.
agriculture, it can't really be residential?
It can't be residential, it can only be what it's existing now is A1 non-conforming.
Yeah, okay.
And there's no future plans to build that that maybe down the road, if you guys wanted to, or things changed and we buy a bigger parcel out west, maybe, you know, I don't know. I mean,
Okay, so that is what actually prompted you to come in and do the rezoning was to,
it's a separate entity with a limited liability corporation. It's a separate tax entity, you know, when you're doing your taxes, this is the parcel that's used for it. I just was trying to simplify it, that specifically and only for flower farms.
okay, so at that point you found out that the house was not rebuildable if it burned
It
down?
wasn't rebuildable even if it's A1 non-conforming either. Either way, it would have been able.
Well, it was legal non-conforming, yes. Now it's illegal non-conforming.
I was understanding if it's A1 and non-conforming that you cannot rebuild on, if it's less than 40 acres according to the Homeland Plat Act, 1983, I believe. Maybe I'm incorrect about that, but I do believe that we were discussing that with the building and zoning department, and anything less than 40 acres, you're not allowed to rebuild your home anyway.
Is that true?
Under today's regulations, that would be correct at the time that this underlying parcel that included the 1 acre to the southeast, when that was all one parcel, it's my understanding that met the zoning regulations at the time that parcel was created. At that point, the house was a legal, non-conforming to today's standards. So yes, you could rebuild under those scenarios because we would be honoring the zoning that was in place at that time.
Yes.
Because the property was split in a way that no longer meets the A1 minimum standards of that time or today. The existing structures would be considered, the existing property would be considered a
Illegal non-conforming.
illegal non-conforming.
Yes, that's what I was
No,
trying to
I
say. So you didn't know that at the time? So
No, I
you're
told them that, and
you're not.
I asked many questions to building zoning. A lot of things were going on at the time, so I guess there's a lot of confusion there that was not explained to us. I was understanding the writing, what I read in the Illinois Plat Act, that it didn't matter either way. So I don't know. I mean, according to what I read, I didn't bring that copy with me, that if it's not conforming, it's unbuildable anyway. So we may have to look into that further and make sure that that is exactly what, if that was in fact non-conforming and rebuildable. I don't know.
Regardless of what it was at that time, the fact that the 1 acre was removed has made both parcels to be non-conforming. And therefore, any structure on either parcel would not be able to be issued the repair, replace building permit.
Okay. So being kind of between a rock and a hard place here, you want to make at least that bigger area, the 9 acres, you want to make that an A2 so that you could rebuild in case there was a fire or, you know, some disaster happened. Okay, I get that. Okay. Now there were 4 RFS tags on the house, 4 violations. Those have all been resolved, I believe.
That is correct.
Okay. And those were, none were this year, they were all previous years, is that right? So you're learning as you go, is that right?
We've had 5 children get married. I know that was one of the things, and we have a lot of children. We changed their diapers to new. We've had 11 celebrations that are placed, and mostly they're all friends, personal friends and family. It's
So
not-
have you ever had a wedding reception there that you were paid to
No.
host?
We're in a financial position to offer this to people, our friends, family, people we've changed diapers for, people we've known even before they were
Okay.
born. Like I said, we've had 4 of our children get married and have that, and so we're at the age where we have a lot of children, friends that have children that are trying to, you know, that reached out and said, hey, can we do this? And let's chat. I'm in a position to do that, and I do that. As we all know, it's expensive to do weddings.
And as we all know, the
And
neighbors don't
we do daddy
particularly
daughter
like
dances.
that.
We do bridal shower, or, you know, wedding showers, and, you know, we've done a lot of different things, but all personal and private.
Okay, I'm going to let the board ask whatever questions they have, and we'll start with Tom.
So according to this yellow lines in this aerial photo, that used to be a square parcel.
Yes,
And you took 1 acre, whatever acres.
yes,
For a flower field,
yes,
and you had it assigned its own PIN number.
yes.
You didn't have counsel when you did that, did you?
Counsel I've had 2 lawyers that seem misinformed, and I just did have some bad information, misinformation.
As many jokes as I made about lawyers in my life, you're guilty. They do come in handy for issues just like this. I don't have any other questions.
That was an oversight, honestly, and I just didn't, I thought, you know, when you own a property, you could kind of do what you want to do in a way and just not changing things, but since it's being the same, staying the same zoning, doing the same thing that's been done over 100 years on the property, I didn't.
Okay, Mr.
I'm
Cozen,
nervous.
do you have any questions?
Thank you. Is there a name to your farm?
Yes,
And what would that name be?
Los Shalom Oaks.
And is there a name to the flowering enterprise?
Not at this time, no. There's the limited liability corporation is being, it's gonna be, what is it? Shuba Fields, yeah.
How does the 1+ acre parcel obtain access to the
There's
public way?
we own all the way up to the cul-de-sac, on both sides of this property. The way it was subdivided with Hazel, who subdivided the property for the houses to be built around, we own, and have access from one cul-de-sac to the next cul-de-sac. And, so we have easement and a road built now through Nunda Township, through, Mike, that we had a permit and we built a driveway going into it from the cul-de-sac.
Just to be clear, so the cul-de-sac provides access to the flower business? And the cul-de-sac is a public street then?
Well, it's a public street until it's our driveway here that we installed this.
So what type of traffic are you expected to generate on the flower bed?
Just people coming to farm it.
So the cul-de-sac people on either side will be expecting traffic to the flower bed?
Very,
I would just say nobody
nobody,
drives in there.
they all drive
Wait,
through our
outside
property.
Stop. We can only have one person speak at a time because this is being recorded. And I'd like you to state your name into the mic so that people know who is.
Kimberly May. I mean, I'm just saying that nobody, I don't see anybody ever driving down into there. I mean, they may park outside or they might drive. It's not like there's I
Can
just
you
want to
show
make
us
sure
on
that they're
that?
understanding that it's
Can
not
you
like
show us
there's
on
a
that picture
building.
where this cul-de-sac is, please?
Yeah, most,
Because the only ones that are there are the people that are farming the flowers.
so there's,
You
you
know,
know.
it's not like customers come there.
They'll come here and they park here. We very seldom use this. This is also access for the farmer that does this is all hay and alfalfa for livestock. So there's a driveway that goes in here, 30 feet of a driveway that goes here. And then we own up to the cul-de-sac up there. I believe we got about 60 feet of property that is adjacent to that cul-de-sac. So
Okay,
it's not
so
landlocked.
That's
That
just,
was your
yeah,
question.
southern, that is north and south, yes?
Yes, this is
Okay,
north.
that
well,
southern
this is
cul-de-sac
south, yes.
is then on Walkup Road, is that correct?
No, this walk-up road is here.
Okay,
This comes off a different street.
okay.
So
So you basically,
on occasion, someone will pull up here and park in the driveway, but it's very, very minimal. Very minimal.
you actually have two drives going into your property?
Yes, I do. I have one here, it's duster and shaded going to the house, and I have another gravel driveway that comes through here.
Okay, all right, I'm sorry, go ahead, Mr. Cosa.
Excuse me, can staff just call up that subject property map that shows the current zoning and the illustrations of the zoning in the particular area with the zoning map?
Oh, sorry.
And so the detail shows the cul-de-sac to the north and then the cul-de-sac to the south. And the access, if I'm correct in your testimony, the access to the 1 acre parcel is through the public subdivision through the south. But as a courtesy or an accommodation, you allow people to come in off of Walkup Road and access the flower bed as well.
It's just a few people that farm it, so, and then us, so it's not like it's
not a place for
It's
customers.
not, it's
One
not
at a
where
time,
customers
please.
come or anything, no. It's all, everything's outsourced. There's flour, either at, farmers markets and other florists, and there's other people that buy it. So it's, everything, most of the traffic for this is done through the driveway and through the house, through the property. And there's very minimal. But yes, it comes off the cul-de-sac, and there's a driveway there.
Then if it was so minimal, why was it necessary to have access to the cul-de-sac?
Well, the farmer comes through, he'll come through there to, and he's been doing it for years, and he farms he brings his truck with the hay balers and comes through there to, do the hay baling. About once every 3 months, 3 times a year, maybe twice a year, not very often,
You said you purchased property 5 years ago?
yes.
Were you represented by counsel 5 years ago?
Yes, I was.
Did you have a farming operation before you purchased this property?
No, I did not. I'm learning all this firsthand.
The illustration that is in with the staff report shows some black objects along the southern border of the subject property near the area. If you can see that, I have it in front of me on an aerial map. It's on page 7 of 59. I'm wondering if you can identify them.
This object here?
No, it looks like barrels or containers or this.
Oh, okay. Okay, I'm sorry, David. The aerial that is up there is from the 2021, and in my report is a 2022 aerial. Let me see if I can call that up real quick here.
It's just,
Oh, was it this one, David?
that's correct.
Those are tarps on the field.
These here?
This,
So it's not up on that one right there.
the black, isn't that the tarps that they put down, or like?
Oh, those are
Farmers,
tarps to kill the
It's like they put on the
soil.
black
That's
roll.
where we planted a lot of lettuce, and we had to kill the soil, till the soil, rotate the soil. Those are black tarps. And then we tilled that all up. And we're in the midst of taking down all those trees so we could farm more in that area. Yeah, those are just tarps on the ground, plastic tarps.
I have no further questions, thank you.
Okay. Mr. Eldridge?
Yeah, I really just have one question, and that is, why did you choose to do an A1 to A2 rather than doing something like an R1, which would still permit you to continue agricultural activity on it, but would conform more to what's around you?
R1, my understanding is that I'm gonna be slaughtering, on A1, you don't usually have you can't have farmers markets for starters. Second of all, farm stand, and then also, you don't, on A1 or at residential, you don't slaughter, animals. You don't slaughter chickens for meat. I do chickens, I do bees. You don't do all that stuff. You don't have slaughtering on residential property, and I do like chickens and stuff like that. You know, after this pandemic, I started getting into the, you know, do meat chickens, things like that with, so, you know, eggs, and et cetera, just a lot of different things that I would be doing. Farming, I got goats, that was special particular breed that were breeding, goats. So those are things that just wouldn't conform to that, that's all.
How long have you had livestock as part of your operation?
About 3.5, 4 years now, within the first year of buying.
All right, that's all I have right now, thank you.
Okay. I have a few more questions here too. So you went with the A2 to continue the farming things that you've done on their property and to be able to rebuild the house, is that correct?
Yes, it's basically, it's a
Okay.
terrifying thing to think that someone, I mean, it's tragic. We had a fire probably, we don't know the current cause of it. And this particular picture being old, the corn crib through an electrical fire started on fire and literally started our barn, our house, garage, and melted everything on the portion of the house by the white spot, the patio, and everything was melted off the front of the one on the pool. It's like a gazebo. So it's like, it's a concern we've dealt with. It was horrifying. I didn't realize fires are that brutal. It was scary, and our house almost caught on fire. So obviously, there's a sense of urgency here, and I didn't realize.
Okay. So now the rest of the property that you say a farmer comes and bales his hay,
Mhm.
do you rent that portion out to that farmer?
He gives me products. There's no.
So it's a trade thing?
It's a trade thing, yeah.
Okay. So he gives you hay?
Yes.
Okay. And can you tell me again the name of your farm?
We call it Shalom Oaks. It's limited liability corporation. We did Shalom Oaks.
Okay. And the flowers were gonna be called what?
Toshiba Fields.
And how do you spell
Toshiba.
it?
Teshuva, Teshuva.
Teshuva. Okay. Now, every time I looked you up on Google Maps, I found another farm name. And it was Tsedah.
Seda Farm.
Seda, yeah, it's a friend of mine. We all work together and we are farming that strip. They're friends of mine. They're our in-laws. They're our family. Our children are married to his family. So we went into a joint venture of farming this area. We want to continue farming this area here and bigger. But that is our in-laws.
Okay, so
that's
that part is doing the organic vegetables and
Yes,
things?
yes.
Okay. All right, now you did mention something about wanting to possibly build 2 houses on the northern end of your
Yes.
property?
You guys don't mind me getting up and down. It
No,
just
you're
seems
welcome to do
easier.
that.
I do understand real estate development. I was a contractor. I did a lot of high-end stuff and owned a motel and everything in my life. I'm a very successful businessman. But the thing is on here is that up here, you have beautiful homes. And what we were thinking, you know, obviously we wanted to learn how to farm. We're trying to think of what we could do down the road. And I do know, and Mike in Nunda Township said you could build a road from here to here and you could do all these houses and just start going to town.
Not with the zoning you got, no.
Well, now with the zoning, obviously I'd have to go through all the rigmarole to start it, and we've discussed this ourselves here.
Yeah.
To come over here and maybe even, you know, do a certain type of driveway with engineers involved with all that. But down the road, and keeping within the 5 acres, I would like to, down the road, subdivide, you know, an acre, or even a 2-acre estate up here that would even be more enhancing to this property. And the thing is that we see too, yes, we've had some weddings and probably had some, but we have met a lot of great neighbors. This community in Crystal Lake and McHenry County is all based on farming. It's one of the best counties in the nation, for that matter. And I'm proud to be living in McHenry County. And we're just trying to bring community into it, you know, just to see the look on people's faces when they come here and they see the chickens and pet the goats, and you know, it's all family owned and operated. It's just kind of like, it's really sweet to enjoy getting back to, just even if you skip a generation, we forget about how farming, where's our food coming? Our kids will say
Okay,
from
so can you
McDonald's.
get back to the two houses
We're
at the
getting
northern
back,
end?
oh, sorry. Okay, but we would like to, and if it's possible with building and zoning down the road, maybe to subdivide that off. I do have, and you might already have copies of that in your office. I think you do. But that would be a potential that we have discussed with building and zoning as a future.
How far down the road are we talking?
Well, I would do it now if it was gonna be easy. I don't know
Oh,
how
I don't
difficult
think
it
it'll
would
be
be.
easy now.
And it just seems like it's not gonna be all that easy, although we already have the plan, we already have the access, we'd have to get a, what is it called, a variance? To come in off the cul-de-sac for two different driveways splitting.
So you would have to rezone that portion that you want to create those separate lots for. Because if this is to be divided into an A2, then you are entitled to the one house that you have on the property now, and that's it. So you would have to rezone for those other parcels. So I would advocate that while it may be your intent to do that in the future, today's hearing is on the A2 for the entire property.
Exactly.
Okay.
Yeah, okay.
So that, I believe, is all that I have for now. So we'll go on to Mr. Schnabel.
I would like to talk farm stand for a minute. Where is the farm stand? What's the nature of the farm stand? Is it temporary, like a trailer or a hay wagon, or is it a permanent building?
No, there's no permanent building on that. There's just all tents. We do have a little flower cart in the front, where people can pull in and get flowers. It's all tents put up at 2:30 and all taken down at like 7. So it's just, and then basically you wouldn't even know anything was going on there, nothing permanent.
Yeah, it looks fairly wooded along Lockup Road there. Is there a sign for this?
Yes, we put up signs, we do advertising to, for the social media. We have a lot of friends, a lot of connections, a lot of other people that we can put out flyers. There's a lot of different, we're seeing how it goes. We're trying to do this is all a learning experience for us. It's not easy. There's no glory in being a farmer. There's no glory. It's work. It's hard work.
I have to say, I live right around the corner from you.
Yeah.
I've been by your property. Every time I come here, I go by your property because I'm right up Edgewood. I have never seen a farm stand sign. I've seen the little flower cart, and sometimes there's flowers in there. That's all I've ever seen.
Yeah, we put it up usually Thursday night because they mow the lawn right in that area. So we put like little flags coming down. We put a row of, signs all the way down there. And then we put one up on my friend's, up at Crystal Springs Road. So we usually set that all up on Thursday.
Okay.
Just this year.
I'll look for that. Okay, I'm sorry, go
We
ahead.
may not do it this week though. We have engagements this week.
I'm sorry, go ahead, Mr.
But
Schnabel.
we've done it since May.
Not because I have anything against the idea, I'm just curious, just to establish more about your operation. In conjunction with the farm stand, are there any special activities like for, pumpkins in the fall, or do you grow pumpkins? I'm curious.
We haven't, that's one thing we're starting to. There are some actually in the back. It's not back up there, but we do grow some pumpkins as far as activities. We on the farmer's market, we've had music there where, once a month we have a family day and kids would come and we had games for them and we've tried to, incorporate that. We've had someone that was playing music at the same time. So we want to start getting into like hay rides or stuff like that down the road. It would be kind of a neat thing to do. We actually have some students that we taught them. We were taking, they come to our property, and this is something that if it was residential, you can't do. You can only do this if it's A1 or A2. Where we taught them how to make honey, what it's about, to taste the honey, what it takes, what it entails with bees. And then we showed them what it takes to make, I tap a lot of maple, I make about 50 gallons of maple syrup. I got 5 different varieties of maple trees on my property. And we teach kids, and the kids will come and we actually put on a show, or not a show, but an education thing for them, for that.
Where do these kids, where do they come from?
They're all homeschooled friends of ours, co-op.
So basically, what you're telling me is you're very much open to future agritourism type activities in the future.
To some degree.
Some,
To some degree, because you still gotta be careful. It's like I don't want too much traffic either, you know? So I'd be very selective.
my next question is strictly kind of a technical one. You've got a cell tower on the property now, correct?
Yes.
Do you have any idea how long that's been there? Was it there when you bought the property?
It was there when we bought the property. I believe they built it back in 1985.
And whose tower is it, out of my own curiosity?
Who was on there?
Do you know?
Yeah, it's, well, AT&T, you got Dish Network, it's coming up there. You have Verizon, I believe, and maybe through that Sprint possibly. I'm not sure. They're very esoteric about that. It's really to my no advantage of having it there.
I don't expect you to tell me anything monetarily, but do you feel they compensate you fairly for the rental of the property?
The lease was sold years ago, and it will come back to me down the road one day. But there's really very minimal, very, very minimal. The people that made out the best were owners before us.
That's all I was curious about. Thank you.
Hi, thanks. So I'm looking at our UDO, and there's certain requirements to go from A1 to A2. And I have questions about the future subdivision of the property. And I think it might be more of a question for staff first, and then the petitioner. If the property is subdivided again, it's no longer going to meet the criteria of the A2 exceptions, because it might be less than 5 acres itself.
Happy to address that question, but I'm going to point out that these standards are for use to determine whether it's appropriate to make the reclassification to A2 today, not for future division.
Right.
So, okay, to answer your question, yes, it would limit, you would not be able to divide it and use it for the two houses, which is why I was indicating that it would need to be rezoned in order to get those two houses on there.
Right, just for the sake of the record, if he were to subdivide it once again, he would lose his A2 on the farm part, and he would have to come back and start all over on all of this again.
So the A2 zoning does not go away because of a division of land, okay? The legalities of the zoning rights would dissipate with a subdivision, okay? So it would make the property, this A2 portion, potentially an illegal non-conforming status as it is right now, if it were to be subdivided without that zoning in place.
So then he would have to come back and it would only be permitted to be an E305 based on
Whatever zoning classification
okay.
they choose to pursue.
I just want to make sure that that's clear. So like if you do A2 today on this whole property and you subdivide any of it again, you have to start all over with the farm part. And you would be non-legal conforming again, and you would have such a small parcel that it would be disqualified from the exceptions that permit you to go A2 now.
Yes and no, because my understanding is if I took 2 acres off of it for building, it would still be 6.87.
Okay. All right, I just wanted to be clear in my head, because we were talking about a lot of different things, and I was looking at the ordinance at the same time as I was listening. I think those are the only questions I have. I have a very similar property to this. I do many of the same activities. I understand what you're up to. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Are there any questions by the staff?
Yes. Okay, so before this meeting, David, you and I were talking, and I had mentioned that the approved standards for a zoning amendment, those 7 items that you had written in responses to. Do you want to incorporate your written response to those as part of today's testimony? Or do you want to read through those?
I can read through them, if you like, if it would be best for the board. A lot of these things were already gone over to some degree. But I probably should go through this one first. Is the zoning destination comply with existing use of zoning by nearby properties? And it's yes, it's compatible. It's been a part of this community for a long time. It's 9 acres, zoned A1 non-conforming, it's surrounded by residential, yes, but there's also subdivision to north and south that would be what we're trying to do.
Don't ad lib, just read it because it's going into the record as written in and recorded, okay?
Okay, I just don't have my glasses on, so. Okay, then make it better. To what extent is the value of the subject property diminished by the existing zoning destination? Rezoning of the property would make the parcel consistent with zoning standards and would actually increase the values of the surrounding properties. I truly believe that. Is there a benefit to the health, safety, and welfare of the public under this current zoning destination? The benefit to the public is that the petitioner could rebuild buildings if destroyed by fire, which benefits the tax rolls and aesthetics of the neighborhood. The neighborhood benefits from the agricultural nature of the property, zone A2. Number 4, is this property suitable for use under the current rezoning destination? Yes. The present zone A1, yet there's less than 10 acres. The property is more suited to be A2 due to its size. Number 5, how long has the property been vacant under the current zoning destination? It's never been vacant. Is there a public need for the proposed use of the property? The community needs farming use and the ability to have farm stands. Number 7, is the proposed use consistent with McHenry County 2030 Beyond Comprehensive Plan? If not, please explain the plan destination that is inappropriate for this property. Yes, the property is used and is consistent with the county comprehensive plan.
Okay, thank you.
So David, again, before the meeting, we went over the requirements for the A1 to A2. So to go through those standards real quick, the standard is only property in the A1 district is eligible for rezoning to the A2 district. So your zoning today is A1, correct?
As it stands today.
As it stands today, yes.
Yes, okay. I'm running through these as if I'm your attorney for you here. The attorney would normally be asking me these questions. Okay. 2, the subject property shall have an existing lawfully constructed residential dwelling on the property. So the existing house was legally constructed, correct?
Yes.
Okay. The zoning petition shall be restricted to a single existing or proposed parcel.
Yes.
Okay. And then the subject property shall meet one of the following 3 relevant exemptions from the Plat Act. Of these 3, the division or subdivision of land into parcels of tracts of 5 acres or more in size, which does not involve any new streets or easements of access. So this property does not, well, first of all, the property is more than 5 acres, correct?
Yes.
Okay. And you are not contemplating any new streets or easements for access to this property at this time?
No, I'm not.
Okay. So, okay. Those were the questions that I had.
Thank you.
Now, I do have my report if you would like me to do my report.
Oh, sure, you can do that now.
Okay. Okay. I guess before I do my report, should we ask if the gentleman in the
I
audience?
was going to, but I thought
Please
you
do
wanted to
that.
talk more.
Please do that first.
Okay. Did you have any questions?
Yeah, I do actually.
Okay, please
it
come
is
up,
in
please
relation-
come up to the microphone and state your name.
Justin Lee,
And keep it to questions only, comments are
And your
permitted.
address too, please?
2809 Vine Lane. We live in the property right there.
Okay.
So in this picture, there's E1 all the way around. So I guess my question is, if our property goes to here, is there a plan for a driveway to the business in the barn?
Not at this time.
Would the A2 classification allow for access to a business in that area?
So the question, I believe, is being directed to staff.
Yes.
So zoning does not prohibit access to a property. So the act of whether it's A1, A2, E1, whatever the zoning designation is, that does not prohibit driveway access.
Okay. I guess the concern that, from the neighborhood standpoint we have is,
Before
I
you
was
go
gonna
on,
lead
it's
a
only
question.
questions.
I was gonna lead a question into that. Trying to figure out how to. Is there plans to try to build a road through there with A2? Is that possible from one cul-de-sac to the other?
Not in this hearing, absolutely not.
Okay.
That takes a whole separate set of documents and staff meetings and so on and so forth. So it would be this process starting again.
Okay.
Times 2 or 3 or 4.
Yes.
Okay. So with the A2 classification, if that does go through, a business could potentially be in that barn, correct?
A farming business.
Okay. All right, so any venues would not be allowed?
Those would have to be temporary permits, I believe. Is that correct?
Okay, so depending on a number of factors, it could be family and friends, in which case no permit is required. If funds are being exchanged, then it would require a temporary use permit and limited. I believe it's 3 times per year, might be 4, but I think it's 3 times per year for a temporary use permit for events.
And does that encompass unlimited family and friend events?
Unlimited. And again, that's regardless of the, and I just realized I misspoke there. The temporary use permit for the events is not allowed in the A2. It's only allowed in the A1. They can still have their family and friends, but the temporary use permit aspect is not listed in our table as a permitted option.
I guess my question's back to the driveway just one more time. With this being subdivided off in this 1 acre on this side, how much space is needed for a driveway based off of where our land is and where the divide is there? Like, what's the number of?
So the county's regulations do not dictate the width of a driveway. It's up to whoever has jurisdiction on the road to determine what width is required.
Which would probably be Nunda Township.
Right.
Okay. All right, that's all. Thank you.
Thank you.
So I believe David wants to respond to the questions.
Okay, go ahead.
I don't have any plans, for the record, and I will not be having a road go from one end to the other.
Well, you brought that up, and so people's hair like.
It could have been done,
The township.
which it could have been done. I didn't want to do it that way. I don't think the neighbors would, I know that I've had a couple of events, but I know they wouldn't have wanted a bunch of houses built there because of traffic, and that if I did do a road from one end to the other, the traffic would have been horrendous for all of them, including this gentleman who's my neighbor. So in answer to that question, you don't ever have to worry about that being done. And as far as business is concerned, on this property is only related to anything farming or agricultural, period. No ifs, no ands, no buts. I was a contractor most of my life, and I just want to do the farming on this property.
Okay. All right, so you're saying that you have absolutely no plans whatsoever to build a road all the way through the property?
None whatsoever.
Okay, we're happy to hear that. Okay. Did you want to make a closing statement in any way?
Well, I'm reporting for you, Mrs.
Oh,
Christensen.
yes, I'm sorry.
I know, we're going, gotta.
You're taking me out of context here. I
I'm so
don't know where
sorry.
I am. Okay, go right
I'm
ahead.
so sorry, okay. Okay, so, the property is presently zoned A1. I've already talked about how it is not meeting today's standards and is currently considered an illegal, non-conforming, property for A1 district. Surrounding the property is, primarily E1. There is some R1 that is on the west side of Walkup Road.
Or do you mean, Ag1?
I'm sorry, you really can't speak right now.
Now, for zoning purposes, I did mean R1 is across the, for uses. Most of the area is used residentially. There is a agriculturally used property that is immediately to the west of the subject property. The future land use map is showing this area being developed for residential uses, not for agricultural uses. So it's based on the future land use and the history of the zoning of the area that staff is recommending denial of the requested A2.
Thank you. And now, sir, whose name I forgot, I'm sorry.
Justin Lee.
Okay, you can come up and give your comments now.
Excuse me,
I have
Madam
none
Chair.
at this point.
I had a question for staff.
Oh, I'm sorry, go ahead.
Sure. Somewhat briefly, was there comments received from Bull Valley or Prairie Grove?
No.
And does none of the township have any filing or comments in this particular land use issue?
I have not received any documentation from them.
Thank you.
Do any other board members have any questions for Anna?
Thank you.
Okay, any other board members have questions for the petitioner? Okay, so you can come up and make your comments now.
I don't have any, do you need me to come up and say that?
You don't have any comments?
No, no comments at this time.
Okay, thank you. Roll up the red curtain. Okay. So, yes, he gave it, right?
No.
Did you give your clothing? Okay, go right ahead.
There's a lot of history to this property. Hazel, who bought it many, many years ago, did see the potential in the future of it being developed to some degree, obviously. We have nothing but the best intentions. I know that despite, we just want to farm and do some interesting strategies with farming, different kinds of bees, all kinds of different kinds of honey products. And I believe that this is where the world's going, and I do want this to be kind of almost a neighborly thing. I know that as they see it going on in the future, they'll say, this is pretty cool. This is added value to this area. This is something that I think we need as a community to come out and to learn how to farm again. And it's not easy, but it's been a lot of challenges. We've lost a lot of chickens and et cetera, but it's a learning process that we're willing to do. And I just close by saying that this, my intentions are fully honorable for this property and as future development down the road to maybe build a house on the north side if possible with rezoning. That would be my future goal.
Okay, thank you. Okay, so I think at this point I'm supposed to read about the soil and water, right? McHenry County Soil and Water Conservation District report has been received. And there were no comments from them, right?
Correct.
Okay, all right. At this point, I will close the hearing and we will reopen for a voting portion of the hearing, of the meeting. So,
Madam Chairman, I move acceptance of the petition.
okay,
Seconded.
this is where I can't ever reach it, okay. do you have any comments?
Yes, thank you. Were this me, I probably would have sought more intense zoning than petitioner has sought. I think that the staff is quite correct that the ultimate use of this property is probably something like E1 or R1 residential. Having said that, I consider this a less intense zoning than that. I think it is probably by the fact that nobody's here objecting, more comfortable for the surrounding community that it stay this way and that it not be subdivided into 6 or 7 or 8 lots, though I think in the future that is destined to happen. I support a petitioner whenever possible who has an illegal non-conforming to find a way to make it conforming. And A2 for this parcel does that. I do think that the 1 acre A1 is a little peculiar, frankly, but that doesn't detract from what I've said. I believe that all the standards for A2 have been met. I believe that the Plan Act standard has been met. And for these reasons, I am going to support the petition.
Thank you. Mr. Jers?
No comments.
Mr. Kosa?
I have, before us has been given much information, including the section 16.36.020 of the McHenry County Unified Development Ordinance. And of course, that requirement uses the obligatory term that we lay people have come to expect as the word must. And specifically under that term, it talks about, an approval standard of which subsection D says that the hardship imposed upon the applicant is balanced against the relative gain to the public. The difficulty is that the public record is that the applicant found themselves in this situation. They found themselves in this situation with less than thorough counsel. They found themselves in a situation that they had no prior familiarity with, not being farmers or agricultural. They found themselves in an area that already had an easement of a long-term benefit to a multinational corporation. They found themselves adjoining 2 public streets to which has already been available access through their property. To continue it to go further by compounding it with a 1 acre parcel, and notwithstanding the representations of the best intentions, it troubles that such could evolve to something of the type we are likely to see elsewhere in the county, that it causes the kind of consternation between neighbors, and then is brought to the ZBA as asked, how did you permit this to go forward in 2023? For those reasons, I will not be supporting this petition, but may wonder if not that LLC could not be unwound, and this parcel then would be compliant as an A2 without the limitations that we are now struggling with. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Schneider?
Many, many valid points here. Mr. Eldridge made quite a few. Mr. Kosen made quite a few. Mr. Jers, unfortunately, made quietly. I'll just say that I too am very troubled by the A1 parcel. That really kind of messes this whole thing up from what it could be otherwise. I understand why you did it. I will just say this, you have a problem right now not being able to rebuild. And this is about the only option that it seems like you can find. So it's more or less an imperfect solution to to a problem that exists. The only thing I can say on behalf of that solution is it doesn't appear that it's going to be a permanent solution 10, 15, 30 years down the road. Something else is going to change. At this point, I'm not ready to commit my opinion. Thank you.
Thank you. Ms. Beverly?
Thank you. Yeah, I agree with the comments that have been made on both sides. This was, the A1 parcel is a strange thing to have happen there, but losing the operation at the A2, I think, would be even more tragic. They're doing a lot of really cool things in an area that doesn't have that going on, and we don't have any input really from the neighbors about, what future land use looks like. He could sell it to do anything. At A2, at least, there is some, his intentions are to keep farming and to keep doing things. I would advise you to get counsel next time you do anything related to your land use. I would advise you to really read the UDO too regarding animals, slaughtering, agritourism, all that stuff, because it is a learning curve. Like I said, I have a similar type of property and I have made mistakes. I have heard from staff. So, I mean, just really double check everything that you're doing, but I'm in support of this petition.
Thank you. I do have some problems with this. I understand, as Mr. Schnabel does, why you're doing this. You need to rebuild the house should something happen to it. And A2 is certainly not the perfect solution to that. On the other hand, I think that it is nice to have that little spot of farm in the surrounding residences. And I would really like to see it stay that way. In some ways, I think that the petitioner has some pretty ambitious plans for that property. And I really strongly urge you to get legal counsel the next time you want to do anything, because it is necessary. And if you don't have any decent lawyers to speak to, come to us. We deal with a lot of lawyers here on this board, and we know a lot of good ones that'll steer you in the right direction and give you good advice, and you'll get your money's worth. Having said that, I am going to vote in favor of this, not because I wholeheartedly endorse it, but because I do see you're in a pickle. I mean, it was a situation pretty much of your own making. However, you made it unwittingly. You're learning from this, so I'm going to vote in favor of it. So with that, I will call the roll for the vote. And it's right here. Eldridge.
Yes.
Cosin.
No.
Schnabel.
Yes.
Beverly.
Yes.
Jers.
Yes.
And I will vote yes. And I probably should have brought this up before, but without 7 members, you really did have the option to continue for 7 votes. However,
Too late.
it's too late. I'm sorry. So the outcome is 1, 2, 3, 4. Why do I only have 5? Is there only 5? No, there's 6 of us.
So you have 5
Oh,
in
here it is.
favor,
I don't
1.
have my glasses on. I made a little tiny check. Okay, so it's 5-1 in favor. This will go to the McHenry County Board for final approval, and I'm not sure when,
With a positive recommendation.
with a positive recommendation. On the 19th?
That will go next month.
That's why I'm
Next
expecting,
month.
because we have a 30-day.
Yes, so it'll be on the 17th of October. It will go
So,
to
yeah.
the county
No,
board.
no got agenda. Okay.
When we go to.
So you do not have to go to that meeting, okay? I'm not going to explain the next steps to you. Just a few moments here.
Okay.